Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. Or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Okay, so let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. How much caffeine would you recommend a person consume each day? I currently consume close to 500 milligrams on a daily basis. Is this dangerous? Bearing in mind, if you do not have a heart condition or if you are sensitive to stimulants, I recommend consuming no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. Okay. Now, again, I can't stress this enough. This is if you do not have a heart condition and you are not overly sensitive to stimulants. So if you do have a heart condition, I would recommend that you don't consume caffeine at all. But if you're someone who needs to have your caffeine fix, I would try to keep that to about 50 to 100 milligrams per day, which is about 1 cup of coffee. Okay. If you're someone who's sensitive to stimulants, caffeine, ephedrine, sugar, I would strongly advise you to keep your caffeine intake to no greater than 200 milligrams per day. And also try to space that out as well. So don't have 200 milligrams within an hour. But if you're someone who just, you like to have your caffeine, whether it's through coffee or through tea or through a pre-workout mix, I think as long as you stay below 400 milligrams per day, which is about 4 to 5 cups of coffee, that should be fine. Okay. But again, if you're someone who has a heart condition, honestly, I would advise you to avoid caffeine as much as possible, and 50 to 100 milligrams max. If you're someone who's sensitive to stimulants, try to keep it under 200 milligrams per day. And honestly, you can get your energy from other energy sources, right? Food being one of them. So you should never have to rely on any stimulant to get you through your day. I've mentioned this before for myself personally. I probably consume no more than about 100 milligrams of caffeine per day. And I just feel I don't need it. Any more than that, I feel I just get jittery. My stomach gets upset. So I'm very sensitive to caffeine. And back when I was in my 20s, I'd probably consume anywhere from 500 to 800 milligrams of caffeine per day. But back then, I knew what I was doing. I was doing pre-workouts, I was doing coffees, I was doing Red Bull, all this stuff. So not good. So try to make sure you limit your caffeine intake. You don't want to rely on caffeine. And if you are going to do caffeine, another thing I'd recommend is try to space out, stop your caffeine intake at about 8 hours before you go to bed. So if you're someone who goes to bed at 10 o'clock at night, your last bit of caffeine should be coming in around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I would not advise you to, have caffeine at like 6 o'clock at night if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, because A, you're going to have a hard time falling asleep, and B, you're going to have a hard time staying asleep. And you're not going to get a good sleep. You're not going to get a good REM sleep. So that's going to affect your next day, which turns into a vicious cycle, because now you need energy for your next day, which is going to be more caffeine, more ephedrine, more stimulants, whatever you're taking, more sugar. So you want to make sure that you recover through good quality sleep. And in order to get that, cut your caffeine minimum 8 hours before you go to bed. Okay. And again, if you have a heart condition, no caffeine, or max 50 to 100 milligrams per day. If you're sensitive to stimulants, keep it under 200 milligrams per day. If you don't have any problems digesting caffeine, you're not sensitive to caffeine, I think 400 milligrams should be sufficient, but no more than that. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Do you think it's possible to remain lean as we get older? So many people seem to just let themselves go and gain fat. Is just this part of aging? I had a similar question to this a few weeks ago on the channel with regards to the metabolism. And as I mentioned, there's not one single scientific study that shows the metabolism slows down as we age. Zero. Okay, so that's not true. The metabolism does not slow down with age. So what I had also mentioned is the reason I believe people gain weight, not all people, but most people gain weight as they get older, is because their activity level decreases. Their sedentary lifestyle increases. So they're not burning as many calories. They're not exerting as much energy, and therefore they're gaining body fat, right? Now, of course, if you're on a medication that causes weight gain or hormonal imbalances, that can cause weight fluctuations. But let's just say that you're just your average person, you're not on any medications that would cause weight gain, you're not dealing with any hormonal imbalances. Why are you gaining weight? And it's usually lifestyle related. I talk to most people who gain weight as they get older, I go, well, how often are you going to the gym? Oh, I don't have time for the gym. Oh, well, how often do you cook at home? Well, every once in a while, but I mostly eat out or order from Skip the Dishes because I just don't have time. So your career becomes a priority, your family becomes a priority, and then your fitness regimen takes a backseat to everything else. So exercise is no longer a priority. And once you talk to most people as they get older, you figure this out very quickly, this is why people are gaining weight as they get older. Okay? It has nothing to do with the metabolism, nothing. So this is why I've always said I don't believe age to be a factor when it comes to weight gain. I never have. And the reason I say that too is because I work with a lot of people who are in their 60s, who are in better shape now in their 60s than they were in their 30s because they're exercising more. They see the value in daily workouts, right? They see the value in eating cleanly on a regular basis. So it's not everyone, but unfortunately, it's most of the population, yes. And that's because most of the population struggle with being physically active. Right? Most people would rather sit than stand, right? Most people would rather watch TV than go to the gym, right? Most people would rather order from Skip the Dishes than cook a homemade meal. So this has become a problem. And that's why people are gaining weight as they get older. They get comfortable, they get more sedentary, and honestly, they just get tired. People get burnt out, right? And they don't want to go to the gym at 5 o'clock at night when they've been working an 8 to 10 hour day, right? They don't want to have to cook a meal when they've been chasing the kids around all day. This is why people gain weight as they get older. So it's important to remain as active as you can as you age. And yeah, obviously, as you get older, there's more wear and tear on the body. It might take you a little longer to warm up. You might not be able to lift the same amount of weights you were lifting when you were in your 20s. You might not be able to run as fast or as far as you could when you were in your 30s. But again, it's not an excuse to allow yourself to get sloppy, get a belly, and get out of shape. So no, I don't fall into that whole ideology that it's normal to gain weight as we get older. And no, the metabolism does not slow down as you get older. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. What do you think is more effective for building muscle? Working with a trainer one-on-one or working in a fitness class with other members? They both have their pros and cons. Okay. So one of the pros to working with a personal trainer in a private one-on-one setting is that trainer is going to customize the program for you specifically. So whether that be, if you say, I want to lose 10 pounds and I'm struggling with my lower body, that trainer can customize a plan specifically that's designed to help you lose 10 pounds and focus on taking care of your lower body, right? Whereas if you're in a group setting, you're going to have to follow a kind of a one-size-fits-all program for everyone in that group. Okay, so in that case, when you're looking at what's going to be a more customized approach, it's definitely going to be the private one-on-one training. With that said, though, private training does cost a lot more than group class training, right? So that's why a lot of people can't do private training is because they can't afford it. But with that said, group class training can be great too, but only if the groups are relatively normal in size. What I mean by that is you shouldn't be training in a group class that has 30 or 40 people in it, especially if there's weights involved. If you're in a spin class and you're all on stationary bike, sure, you can have 50 people in that class. But if you're working in a group class where you're doing clean and jerks, you're doing deadlifts, you're doing bench presses, you're doing seated rows, you're doing pull-ups, you're doing pull downs, all this stuff that requires really focused attention from the instructor, there's no way one instructor can focus on 30, 40 people in a class. So you're only doing yourself a disservice by joining a group class that large. So if you're going to join a group class, my recommendation is to shameless plug in here, but join a group class like ours that we only take a maximum of 8 to 10 participants per class. The reason we do that is so we can provide a more customized approach to every person who's in that class. We also recommend that only people who join our classes have trained with one of our trainers one-on-one for at least 3 months before joining the group class. Reason why is you're not going to get that same instruction that you're going to get in a one-on-one setting. So if you want to learn how to perform proper form and proper technique, it's important to get that more customized approach, that more individualized instruction, so that when you come to a group class, you won't fall behind. You won't risk injury. So they both have their pros and cons. One of the pros to join a group class, though, too, is you have even more accountability, not just from your trainer, but also from the other group participants. So that helps too. But sometimes training in a group setting does help motivate people even more. So it's really based on A, what your goals are, B, what your budget is, and C, what you respond better to. Do you work better in a group setting, or do you work better with a one-on-one approach? I've had people who worked privately with me for 15 years, and they know what they're doing, but they like to work with me because I customize the program for them. I hold them accountable, and they don't have to wait for equipment because they're in a private gym, and they don't have to share the space with anyone. So again, it depends on the person. I have other people who worked with me for 15 years in group classes who love group class training. They can afford private training, but they love the group class training. They love the environment. They love the people they work out with. They feed off that energy. So that's why they do group class training. So do I think you'll get better results in a one-on-one training session? Not necessarily better results, but you'll get a more customized approach. So take that for what it is. Both have their advantages. It's just picked on what's going to fit for your lifestyle and your goals. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. I recently injured my groin while bicycling the other day. It really bothers me when I walk and sit. Should I take a few days off from the gym to rest the area, or just train a bit lighter? It's difficult for me to answer that question because I don't know how severe the injury is. I mean, is it a strain? Is it a tear? In this case, because you still have movement, you're still able to walk, you're still able to sit, it sounds to me like it's a potential strain. So fortunately, it doesn't sound to me right now that it's a tear, but we don't want to turn it into a tear, because that's how tears start. They start as a strain, and if you push it more, they turn into a tear. Now, if you're dealing with a torn groin, you're looking at maybe 4 to 6 week recovery. If you're looking at a strain, much less, be 1 to 2 weeks. So the strain is obviously the better of the two. So if you're dealing with a strain in the lower body extremities, okay, you've got to be so careful when you do not just lower body exercises, but also upper body exercises. Like even doing something so simple as lying back to do a bench press, you sitting on that bench, you could potentially strain your groin further and then risk tearing it, right? So you have to be very careful as to how you set yourself up in the gym performing certain movements. But I see no reason as to why you still can't perform that bench press, why you still can't perform the standing lateral raises or seated dumbbell shoulder press, as long as you're set up. When I say set up, as long as you're getting into position very carefully, you're thinking very methodically as to how you're going to approach each exercise you do. Now, when it comes to the lower body, that's more of a trial and error basis. And again, because I don't know how severe the injury is, it's difficult for me to give a definitive answer on this. But if it were me and I was dealing with a strain in my groin, I would avoid training legs for about 2 weeks, which means I'd miss about 2 leg workouts. No big deal. I'm not going to lose any muscle from missing 2 leg workouts. If anything, I'm going to be able to help that area recover faster, and I'll be able to get back into the leg routine with the heavier weights in a much more efficient time manner. So I would avoid any lower body exercises like squats, walking lunges, even like deadlifts. I would avoid those. I would avoid leg press, hack squats, anything that puts any unnecessary strain on the groin. Even some abdominal exercises like reverse crunches or hanging leg raises, that could cause some issues with the groin. So I would avoid that. So I would still train upper body. I don't see any reason why you need to take time off from training upper body. Just be careful with your execution and how you set things up with each exercise in your exercise sequence. And as far as lower body, I would just take off 1 or 2, more realistically 2 leg workouts. Just give yourself that time. And then when you go back for your 3rd week on, go very light on your first set of squats. Just get a feel for it. Listen to your body. I know I say this a lot, but it's so important to listen to your body and pay attention to what your body's telling you. If your body's telling you to back off the weights, back off the weights. Listen to your body as in, is this good pain or bad pain? If it's bad pain, okay, you're not ready to return to the gym for legs yet. But this is the time, more important than ever, to really pay attention to what your body's telling you. As far as rest and recovery, if the injury just happened recently, my recommendation is to ice it on a daily basis. Ideally, when an injury like this happens, you want to ice it as quickly as possible, so within 24 hours. And then you want to continue to ice it for at least 3 or 4 days, right? On top of that, I'd also recommend a topical adhesive, something like Tiger Balm or Voltaren, applying on a daily basis 3 to 4 times a day. And that will also help aid with any potential inflammation. Okay, so that's what I'd recommend for not just a groin injury, but any injury where you're risking potential strain or even potential tear. Okay. All right. Next question. Okay. Hey, Nick, I have some extra time with my workout schedule now that my kids are back in school. Just wondering if I would get better results if I extended my current workouts from 60 to 90 minutes. No, you wouldn't get better results. If anything, you'd probably overtrain the muscle bellies that you're working that day. Okay, so longer duration in the gym does not equate to better results with your physique. Okay, it's all about intensity. So we know that lower duration but higher intensity works best for muscle stimulation and muscle growth. This is not new. We know this now. There's been numerous studies done on this. So the days of going to the gym twice a day for 60 minutes to 2 hours back like in the 70s when Arnold and those guys used to train the bodybuilders of that generation, we know now that they were overtraining the muscle bellies. Of course, they didn't know that back then, but everything we've learned now about dietary nutrition and training science, we've come a long way in the last 3 decades. So we now know that shorter duration, maximum intensity works better. So rather than saying, well, now I'm going to work out for 90 minutes, still keep your workouts to 45, 60 minutes, but train with the utmost amount of intensity. If you still feel like, you know what, I can still do a few more exercises in the gym, or I can still exert myself, rather than doing any more weight exercises, go hop on the treadmill or the elliptical for 20, 30 minutes. Do some cardio. Okay, so you work your cardiovascular system. So I always advise my clients no longer than 45 to 60 minutes in the gym max. My own workouts are no longer than 40 to 45 minutes ever. But I train again with the utmost amount of intensity. So that means there's no cruising Instagram, there's no taking selfies, right? There's no updating your Facebook status, no checking out TikTok videos, like none of this stuff. So you're training for full on 45 to 60 minutes in the gym. And that should be enough. If you can do more than that in the weights, then you're not training intense enough. If that's the case, then you should book a session with me and I'll take you through a 45 to 60 minute session and we'll see if you want to go further for 90 minutes because chances are you won't. Okay, so if you feel like you can train for 90 minutes in the gym, add in some cardio, throw in 20, 30 minutes, like I said, on the bike, on the elliptical, on the treadmill, just to get your heart rate up even further, burn some body fat. That's not going to affect your muscles now because you're working your cardiovascular system. I have no issue with that. But I would cap your weight workouts at no more than 60 minutes. Okay. Nick, should I take a day off from the gym if I'm tired? I just feel exhausted lately and have no motivation or interest in going to the gym. Okay, so here's the thing. You have to really be honest with yourself here. Now, when you say you're tired, are you truly tired? Are you actually burnt out? Are you just like mentally burnt out from life? Right? Maybe there's a lot of stress going on in your life and you're burnt out. Are you sick? Are you feeling feverish? Do you have a sore throat? Are you overtrained? Right? Have you been training in the gym every day for the past 3 or 4 weeks? And now you just feel like, oh, my muscles are sore. Everything is sore. Everything is hurting. I need some time off. If that's the case, I would definitely take, 1 or 3 days off from the gym for sure. Absolutely. However, if you're just feeling tired, as in lazy, then no, I wouldn't take time off the gym from that. So, and what I mean by that is, let's say you work an 8-hour day and now it's time to go to the gym. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's time to go to the gym. You're like, I want to just go home and watch some TV and relax. Well, here's the thing. When you work out, you'll feel better. For those of you who work out with weights, you feel better after a weight workout, right? We always do. You have more energy after a weight workout, the release of endorphins. This is nothing new. So you have to kind of get over that hump and think, oh, I just want to go home and chill and relax, watch some Netflix and eat crappy food. You have to think, no, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do my workout. The first 10, 15 minutes are going to suck because I don't want to be there. But after that, after I get over that hump, I'm now in the zone. I'm ready to train with the utmost amount of intensity. And now, once the workout's done, I'm going to be re-energized, more focused. I'll go home, cook myself a clean meal, watch some TV or do some work, and then go to bed. So you have to really be honest with yourself and say, okay, am I being tired? Am I really tired? Am I burnt out? Am I overtrained? Am I overstressed? Or am I just being lazy? So once you're honest with yourself, then only you can answer that. But I've always gone with the mindset of listening again to my body and just saying, you know what, I can't train today. My body's saying no, I'm going to listen to it. But if I'm just being lazy and like, no, I just want to go home and chill, I push myself to go no matter what. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. What is the best way to increase lean muscle mass without adding on extra body fat? The best way to increase your lean body mass while keeping body fat levels low and not adding on additional body fat is to keep your overall caloric intake to what your base metabolic rate should be. So a lot of people don't know what that is. So don't worry too much about what that is if you're not too sure how to structure a nutritional plan. But you just want to make sure that you don't go into a caloric surplus. Okay. So if you're someone who's looking to add on, let's say 10 pounds of lean muscle mass and you're 200 pounds, to give you an idea, I don't count calories, but what I would be doing with someone like that, I would try to be making sure that we don't go into a incredibly large caloric surplus. So let's say 5,000, 10,000 calories a day. Your body just doesn't need it. Okay. So as I mentioned, I don't count calories, so I'll be counting the macronutrients with this person I'm working with. It's important to also figure out your body type. Are you an endomorph? Do you put on body fat easy? Are you an ectomorph? Do you lose muscle easily? So you have to know your body type first before putting together a nutritional plan. Now, once you have that information, then you can start plugging in your macronutrients accordingly, right? So in my experience, the best way to put on lean mass is to do it slowly. And how you do that is you start off with, like you said, your base metabolic rate. If you're not sure what that is, usually what I recommend people do is let's say you're 200 pounds, you take 200 pounds, that's how much you weigh, you times 200 pounds by 1.5, that's how many carbohydrates you should have in your diet. You times 200 times 0.5, that's how many grams of fat you should have in your diet. And as for protein, I like to play around with that. But for someone who, let's say, is 200 pounds, I'll either go to that 1.5 to times 2, and that will give you how many grams I should have for protein per day. Sounds like a homework assignment. I know. That's why people work with people like me who can structure a nutritional plan for them and put together a customized plan that's going to work for them. But if you put that together, there's no reason to be go into an incredibly high caloric surplus or a macronutrient surplus. Because if all you do is eat just to get big, you'll get big, but you'll get fat big. You'll put on muscle, but there'll be a layer of fat covering that muscle. So you're never going to see that lean, hard, dense muscle. You're going to look something like the Michelin Man, like the Marshmallow Man. It doesn't look good. So you want to make sure that you keep your macronutrients in check, and that any weight you do add on, you add it on slowly. Because just like weight loss, the slower it goes on, the less likely it is to come off because you're putting on good quality weight. If you're losing weight, the slower it comes off, the less likely you're going to put it back on because you're losing strictly body fat and you're not losing good quality weight. So that's very important. Don't be in a rush to gain weight or lose weight on the scale, because I promise you, if the scale is swinging too fast either direction, whatever you're doing, it's not going to be sustainable, and the weight's just going to either creep right back up again or go right back down again. So you've got to train smart, you've got to eat smart, and put together a plan that works. Okay, and that's what I mean by following a metabolic-based plan, putting together a macronutrient rotational program. That's going to help based on your activity level, based on your genetics, finding out if you're an endorphin or ectomorph. If that sounds like a lot of work, a lot of homework, well, then it's time to contact someone like myself that could put together a nutritional plan for you. And as most people know, I do have an online coaching app where I work with numerous clients by helping them to design a customized nutritional plan and or customized training program. If you'd like more information on that, you can always hit me up on my email at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or DM me on Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, next question. Okay. Hi, Nick. How long does it take to see results? I will be using my home gym beginning next week and wondering what kind of results I can expect to see if I train consistently 2 to 3 times a week in the gym. I don't like to give a one-size-fits-all answer for this question. I know you can do a simple Google search and they'll tell you, oh, you should expect to see results in 6 to 8 weeks if you're training in the gym. Well, yeah, maybe for some people, but not for everyone. We have people who are fast responders. We have people who are hyper responders. We have people who are slow responders, right? So the hyper responders are the type of people who walk into a gym, they look at a weight and they put on muscle, right? And you have people who are fast responders who they start lifting weights for 2-3 weeks. And all of a sudden you start to notice that their arms are getting bigger, their chest is getting more dense, and they're fast responders. Then you have people who are training every day in the gym, 3 or 4 days a week, 5 days a week in the gym. And it takes a lot of work and effort and time on their part just to put on a pound of muscle. So unfortunately, that has a lot to do with your genetics, right? Not everyone's going to be Mr. Olympia. That is purely genetics. It's hard work, talent, and genetics, but genetics plays a huge role when you're at that level. I'm talking about the bodybuilders, the elite bodybuilders of the world. Yes, it's hard work, and yes, it's a lot of training and diet, but genetics plays a huge role. Okay, so once you figure out what type of, again, it goes back to the endomorph, the ectomorph, what type of body type you are, if you're a fast responder, a slow responder, that's going to give you a better idea as to what you can expect with your results. Now, again, if you're someone who is training the gym consistently, 2 to 3 times a week is okay. I try to get people in the gym at least 3 to 5 times a week, though, to maximize their results, because then we can prioritize each muscle group accordingly. But if you're training the gym 2 to 3 times a week and you're training consistently, you're not missing those workouts. And what I mean by that is it's every week for a good 2-3 months. You're not doing 3 workouts one week and doing 1 workout the following week and then doing no workouts on week 3. That's only 4 workouts in 3 weeks. So consistently train 2 to 3 times a week. So in those 3 weeks, that would be like 6 workouts, 9 workouts. I would imagine that you would start to notice some differences in your physique, man or woman, within that 6 to 10 week period, that time frame. And that's one thing I always tell clients, new clients that sign up to work with us. I say, if you're doing everything we tell you to do, and you're training with the utmost amount of intensity, you should start to notice results in that 6 to 10 week time frame. And the reason I like to go 6 to 10 weeks as opposed to the generic 6 to 8 or the 4 to 6, whatever Google tells you, is because everyone's different. And I want to manage our clients' expectations. I want them to have realistic expectations. I don't want to sign someone up and say, yeah, you're going to get results in 3 weeks if you do everything I say, because that's not true. If anything, if they do start to see results in 3 weeks, then that'll look great, because I told them 6 to 10, they're getting results in 3. And that does happen sometimes, but not with everyone, because when someone first signs up to work with one of our trainers or with myself, there's usually, not always, but usually a time frame for most of these people to start to really notice results. And that's because most people don't know what they're doing in the gym. Even those people who come to work with us who have been training on their own, a lot of times they've been doing things wrong. Whether it's their form is off, their technique is off, they're lifting too much weight, they're not lifting enough weight, something is not right. And so we have to either train them from ground zero, or we have to retrain them again. We have to get rid of bad habits and introduce new good habits in their training again. So that takes time. And you can't just do that in 2 or 3 sessions. That can take up to 6 to 8 sessions, which right there is 3 to 4 or 5 weeks. So I like to manage expectations. And so clients have a realistic outlook as to what they can expect from working with either myself or one of our trainers. Because one of the things I've always prided myself on is providing complete transparency with all our clients, always. So I won't bullshit someone. If I don't think they're looking good, I'm not going to pass them a compliment. I'm not going to say, wow, you really leaned out. If I'm looking at them, I'm like, no, you still need to lose weight. I will tell them they need to lose weight. And the harsh reality is that's what people pay me to do. So I'm not going to baby anybody, okay? I'm going to tell you the facts. I'm going to give you my opinion. And again, I think a lot of my clients respect me for that, because I'm always honest with them. And so if you want to get results and you're going to train consistently 2 to 3 times in a week, and you're going to do that on a consistent basis, this is my opinion, you can expect to see some results with your physique 6 to 10 weeks. You might get them quicker, but 6 to 10 weeks, just stay with it, stay consistent, the results will come. Okay. Next question. Hi, Nick. How do you recommend your clients celebrate when they achieve one of their goals in the gym? Do you recommend they take time off from training a bit and eat normally for a few days as a reward? It's funny, because I had a client this weekend ask me if I celebrate my clients' wins in the gym. And the reality is I don't. I have clients that they set goals, and once they achieve their goals, I'm like, great, what's your next goal? Because my mentality is, okay, what's next? We don't just want to, we hit the status quo, we're good now. There should always be another goal in mind, right? So you're constantly motivated. So I don't necessarily celebrate if someone hits their goal in the gym. Let's say they were looking to bench 315 and they do it. I'm not going to pass them a high five, because I don't like high fives. I'm going to say, great, you did it. Now let's try to see if we can take your bench up to 325, right? Why not? The sky's the limit. So same thing when someone hits their target weight loss goal. I'm like, great, we hit your weight loss goal. What's next? Do we continue to lose weight, or do we want to add on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle? I think we should add on 5 to 10 pounds of muscle. So let's change up the nutritional plan. As far as rewarding yourself, though, I'm very careful to recommend how clients reward themselves when they hit a personal goal. Some people like myself, I never rewarded myself. If I want a show or anything like this, a bodybuilding show, I would just continue with my diet and train as is. That's what worked for me. I never found I needed to reward myself. But for other people, they might need that extra incentive. Maybe if they get down to a weight loss goal, that's not enough of a reward for them. They need to have that extra push. So in that case, I recommend something like picking a new outfit. You say you're a woman, you want to buy a dress, you want to be down 3 dress sizes. Once you get down those 3 dress sizes, go get your dress. If you're a guy and you want to get down a belt notch, you want to take it yourself from a 36-inch waist down to a 32-inch waist, and you get down to a 32-inch waist, go buy yourself a new pair of jeans. Do not, and I'll say this over and over again, do not reward yourself with food, okay? You're not a dog. How do we reward dogs when they do something good? With food. So if you want to compare yourself to a dog, go ahead, reward yourself with food. You hit a weight loss goal and you want to go eat a gallon of ice cream, go do it. But there's really no difference between you and a dog at this point, because that's how we reward dogs, with food. You're a human being. You hit your weight loss goal, great. Have your regular cheat meal when you have your scheduled cheat meal, but reward yourself with something else. Maybe it's just a night out with friends, have a few drinks with them. Like I said, a new outfit, could be a trip. So whatever that is, just don't reward yourself with food, because that again is going to create, in my opinion, it's going to create a very bad relationship with food. Okay, doing something good and then rewarding yourself with food, that to me is going to cause issues down the road. I'm not going to get into this right now, but I've talked about emotional eating and I've talked about rewarding oneself with food and why I don't think it's a good idea. So let's just say, if you're going to reward yourself, pick another reward, but you're not a dog, so don't reward yourself with food. All right. Last question. Nick, I honestly feel like I have too much going on in my life to fit in daily workouts. Would you recommend I try keeping my calories low, like below 1,000 calories on the days that I can't get to the gym? I had a similar question like this as well a few weeks ago on the channel, with regards to how you should eat on the days that you're training versus days that you're not training. So again, if your goal is for weight loss, my recommendation is to, let's say you're eating 6 meals a day. Have all 6 of those meals on the day that you're training with weights. On your rest days, consume 4 to 5 of those meals. Because the reality is you're not going to need as many calories because you're not exerting as much energy. Therefore, you don't need that additional 1 or 2 meals. So you can start taking the meals down. If your goal is for weight gain, as in muscle gain, I would keep the diet the exact same. So if you're having 6 meals on your workout days, you can have your 6 meals on your rest days as well, because you want to keep everything the same so that you stay relatively, your calories and your macronutrients stay about even, because you're constantly trying to build muscle and add on weight. Okay. But just to go back to 1,000 calories, I don't have anyone, not a single one of my clients, even some of my women that I work with who are 115, 120 pounds, not a single one of them are consuming less than 1,000 calories a day. I think the lowest I've ever brought someone down to on a diet, and this is really low, and this was maybe for the last week of a contest prep, was like 1,200 to 1,400 calories. And that was only for a few short days. So it wasn't done for a prolonged period. So I think 1,000 calories a day is too low for anyone, even if you're exercising or not. It's just too low. So again, watch how low you go on your calories, because even if you're not exercising and you're pretty much starving your body, all you're going to do is you're teaching your body to hold on to body fat. Okay. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a very hard time losing weight, and you really will screw up your metabolism. You'll screw up your metabolic rate. You're going to screw up the way that your body digests and processes food, because your body doesn't know when it's going to be fed next. So if you're feeding your body sporadically and you're only doing 1 or 2 meals a day and it doesn't know, well, what am I going to eat next? Guess what's going to happen? It's going to start slowing things down. It's going to slow down the digestive process, right? And that right there is going to cause further issues. You're going to get hormonal imbalances, right? You're going to start noticing that you might even lose your hair. You might have problems with your nails, all these problems, your skin. So it's very important that you, when you put together a dietary nutritional plan, that you put together something that is full of vitamins and nutrients, okay? Starving yourself does not work, okay? You might lose weight at first, but in the overall, the long term, it won't work. I promise you. I've seen this time and time again when people go on these extreme diets and they go on these like 500 to 1,000 calories a day. You know, they go on keto diets, as I mentioned earlier, they lose all this weight. But then what happens when they come off this diet? They put all the weight on and more, okay? And again, you're looking at a lot of health ramifications from following these extreme diets. So as I mentioned last week on the channel, the best diet is a diet that is sustainable and realistic. A sustainable diet will be a successful diet. Okay, so unrealistic diets, they won't work. Okay, short term, yes, long term, no. In my opinion, it's not even worth it, your time, effort, and energy to follow it. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, September the 19th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your diet, your workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.